From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Cascade Paint and Supply is Reading's oldest family-owned paint store, established in 1953. We are the largest Dunn Edwards dealer in the nation, and most of our products are made in the U.S. Our friendly and knowledgeable staff are ready to answer your questions and help you today.
Happy holidays from Weather NorCal and our sponsors. Have a wonderful holiday season.
Happy Tuesday morning to you. Starting off pretty cold on the coast. We do have a frost advisory for the coast and even some of those inland areas of Humboldt County until 9 o'clock this morning, so just be aware of that. We also have a dense fog advisory for Glenn and Butte counties, of course southward, working its way into Sacramento Valley, southward into Sacramento, that is. Now, just because we don't have a fog advisory for Tehama or even Shasta County doesn't mean there won't be any fog, but as you head southward, that's where you have most of the fog and the most dense fog as well, and some of it may have a hard time burning off as you take it through the morning and even afternoon hours. All right, take a look at Sundial Bridge Drive in Reading. That's what I was talking about. No dense fog advisory for Shasta County, but there is some fog out there this morning. And this is, of course, along a body of water, so that is going to be another contributing factor. We take you out to Red Bluff, and we are starting off with that fog this morning as well. And then southward, taking you into Highway 99 at Neal Road, of course, in Butte County, you can see the fog there. So be prepared for that patchy, dense fog for places like Shasta, Tehama County, and probably more in the way of some pretty dense fog in some areas southward into Glenn, Butte counties, and of course working its way southward towards Sacramento. All right, let's take a look at your Krueger's Quickcast for your Tuesday, December 30th. All right, so you're heading out the door this morning. Some patchy fog for the valley, fog for parts of the higher elevations, especially those mountain valleys in Trinity County. I'd even say western Siskiyou County valleys may see some of that fog as well. Now, another thing that I'm watching here is if you look to the south, you see the clouds coming into Southern California, even that rain just off the coast of Southern California. That's heading our way. That's moving northward, but it's still going to take some time before it actually gets here. And we'll show you that on Futurecast here throughout the morning and afternoon, minus that fog that we are seeing in parts of the valley. We are going to be looking at more of those high clouds coming in later tonight, and then eventually working their way northward and maybe some showers by late morning to early afternoon, just depending on where you are. It's going to work its way south to north throughout the afternoon on Wednesday. All right, so the winds this morning, as you can see, they're calm. So we've got to get those winds to pick up a little bit here to maybe mix out some of that fog, and that may happen. We may see the winds pick up a little bit here by around midday. If that happens, that'll be enough to really scour out a lot of that fog. So hopefully sometime around midday, early afternoon, we start to see that fog begin to scour out. Otherwise, if the winds remain calm, there's a very good chance some of you that are seeing that fog this morning, especially very dense fog, may stick around through a good portion of the day. Hey, by the way, if you're heading out to the ski park, it's at 28 inches at the top of Douglas. It's got groomed and packed powder. There are a few spots out there where there's a little bit of dirt and some grass kind of poking out, but nothing terribly concerning. Still some pretty good conditions out there, and the roads are all clear on I-5 and Highway 89. All right, take a look at your snow totals. Unfortunately, with the rain that's approaching, it's also going to mean rain for some of the higher elevations, including the ski park, especially for Wednesday and Thursday. Snow levels will start to drop through the day on Friday, and eventually the ski park may pick upwards of 6 to 12 inches of snow just for Friday. Again, once those snow levels eventually start to drop. All right, the rainfall chances start to increase. They're really going to be fairly high for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, then another drop off on Sunday. Then maybe some more showers by early next week. We'll talk about all of that a little bit later. But let's take a look at your forecast for your Tuesday. Temperatures will be in the mid-50s. Now, I've got fog in there for Corning, Chico, Willows, even most likely even Red Bluff. Depending on what those winds decide to do, as I mentioned, without those winds picking up, that fog will probably stick around through a good portion of the day. Otherwise, the wind should help to scour out this afternoon. A cold night tonight could still see some more fog developing, although with some clouds moving in overhead, that may help to prevent some of that fog from developing. Otherwise, you can see pretty cold in the mountains in the 20s and 30s there, upper 30s to low 40s for the coast. All right, so once we get into that wet weather pattern by Wednesday afternoon, we continue with off and on rain all the way through the rest of the week, this weekend, and most likely even into early next week. And that's the case really across the board. It's the snow levels that we've got to watch. Now, we do have high snow levels fairly high for Wednesday afternoon. Not enough to put snow levels in there because it's going to be 7,000, 8,000 feet. That's the case again on Thursday, but we start to see them drop by the time we get into Friday and through the weekend, and eventually down to about 5,000 feet Saturday. And I'm expecting we can see them lower a little bit more here by Sunday into Monday. So I think that we could eventually see the ski park by Friday afternoon seeing snow, but even Friday morning, still some fairly high snow levels before that cold front decides to kind of push on through. All right, let's take a look at our weather headlines. And we've got cool with areas of fog here for today. That wetter pattern returns Wednesday. Now it's going to work its way from south to north. So it's going to get progressively heavier as we go through the day, and progressively chances increase heading northward. High snow levels to start off, but lowering snow levels by Friday, and in particular as we go into the weekend. All right, that's a look at your Krueger's Quickcast. Now let's go into our deeper dive forecast, sponsored by Shasta Hearing Aids.
Frank, come help with the dishes.
What?
The dishes!
I heard it the first time. I just got back from Shasta Hearing Aids, but she doesn't know it yet. What?
Forget it.
All right, so we start off with satellite image here, just kind of show you the big story here. So right now we've got high pressure in place. Winds are calm. The fog has certainly developed. We've seen the return of that fog, unfortunately. However, we're going to kind of mix things up and disrupt things here later on this week. In fact, over the next 24 hours. This right here is what I've got my eyes on. Already starting to pick up some rain on the radar. Southern California, seen that cloud cover. Clouds will be on the increase today and especially going into tonight. But it will remain dry even as we go into tomorrow morning. So let's just kind of take a look at the overall pattern that we're going to be looking at here. It's coming in from the south, so initially will be fairly high snow levels. And I'm expecting those snow levels to be above 6,000, even 7,000 feet starting off for your Wednesday, most likely for your New Year's Day on Thursday, and then we start to see the snow levels drop as that storm system passes through. Now, we still have a series of storms coming in as we do go into the weekend and even early next week. The timing, the overall intensity of those storm systems, that is going to be changing. But I just want you to be aware of the fact that we do have more wet weather entering the picture. There is going to be some flooding potential, but here's one of the things I really want to highlight and talk about. You are going to see in headlines the term atmospheric river used as a series of atmospheric rivers moves through. I've already had people connecting with me asking if these atmospheric rivers are going to bring us more flooding like we saw last week. I want you to understand, and please, I want you to completely understand this for especially the Redding area that saw the flooding with that convergence line. That was a very unique situation, and that is why we saw so much flooding. Now, yes, we can see here that as we go into Tuesday, right, today, we have this atmospheric river right here. But you see the bulk of it's pointed way down to our south. But there's an area of low pressure right here that's tapping into that moisture. So we don't necessarily have an atmospheric river over us or an atmospheric river that's going to be impacting us. But this is impacting us because this area of low pressure is tapping into the moisture. But we're not necessarily going to see that atmospheric river pointed at us. So here you can see the main atmospheric river is kind of right here, but because of this area of low pressure, it's tapping into that moisture, wrapping it around, and that's going to give us a steady round of rain as we go into Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night. Now, when I say steady rain, nothing to be terribly concerned about. It's going to be light to moderate rainfall, but I don't expect heavy downpours for a long period of time. Then that area of low pressure scoots out. Now, yes, granted, another atmospheric river. Now, this one is going to be pointed at us by the time we get to the end of the week. Is it a strong one? No, it's not a major big deal. There is an area of low pressure right here helping to kind of squeeze out some of that moisture. So that'll be that source of moisture that we go into Friday. And then no atmospheric rivers over the weekend. We've just got some good old-fashioned storms that'll be coming in here, and that'll be bringing us more wet weather here as we go into the weekend and into next week. So I just wanted to point that out because there has been some concern about flooding. And again, we've got a lot of people in the Redding area in particular have that PTSD because of the flooding. I know a lot of people that were impacted by it, and for good reason you have that PTSD. That was not a good situation. But I don't anticipate there to be a repeat of what we saw that day, all right? So let's take a look at Futurecast, walk you through the timing as this rain begins to move in. Here you can see by 5 p.m. today, I think we're going to see more cloud cover than you're seeing here. We'll call it some increasing clouds throughout the afternoon and evening. Now by tomorrow morning, even midday, we're not seeing much rain. You can see the rain is working its way in from the south. So we'll be working its way northward and eventually getting here for everybody by the afternoon hours, starting off to the south, and then eventually by the late afternoon, early evening, everyone else to the north sees that rain. Now you see here, this is what we call a bit of an overrunning type of situation as far as rain is concerned. Bottom line, this type of rain is that type of rain that's steady. Once it kicks in, it's going to remain steady in that light to moderate. This is nothing, you don't see heavy bands of rain in here. There are a few areas that are seeing some periods of moderate rainfall coming in, but just some light to moderate rainfall throughout the afternoon on Wednesday. That continues Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Pretty widespread. And another thing you'll notice, we're not seeing a lot of pinks or blues on the map here because this is, as you saw, a storm coming in from the south. So it's a very warm source of moisture. It's a warm storm system that's coming in, so that's going to keep those snow levels fairly high. So I would anticipate that the ski park, unfortunately, will see rain Wednesday afternoon and through the day on Thursday. However, you can see on Thursday, we're seeing that storm system kind of kick itself on out of here by Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. But then we've got another storm system coming in from the west. Now, this is still going to be tapping into some warm subtropical air, and that means that the first half of the day on Friday, still high snow levels. Now, we're also looking at pockets and periods of heavy rainfall as we go into Friday, as that cold front passes through. Could even see a few thunderstorms in there as well. Now, once the cold front passes, you're seeing more snow on the map here. So by Friday evening, Friday afternoon, late Friday afternoon, Friday evening, snow levels could drop down to about 5,000 feet. And I'm expecting places like the ski park to see some snow, and then more snow and maybe some chain requirements for some of the higher mountain passes by Friday afternoon, Friday evening. Now, once that cold front passes, we have cold and unstable air that's going to be in place. It's still tapping into some moisture. Snow levels may drop a little bit more by the time we do get into Saturday morning, but there you can see more showers here. So again, we're not looking at that steady rainfall with the exception of what we're going to see here for tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow night. With that all being said, we can see here that on Thursday, right, so this is the day after that rain really starts to kick in, there is going to be the risk for some flood, a marginal risk for some flash flood potential. Just kind of put it that way. Now, again, is this something we need to be terribly concerned about? Are we going to see another convergence line type? No, we're most likely not going to see that. But the ground is, even though we've seen the break, and it's a great break, we've seen a lot of the waters, the creeks and streams are showing signs of receding. But once we get that steady rain coming in Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night, that's going to saturate the ground once again to a level of oversaturation. So as these series of storms pass through, eventually we may start to agitate some of those areas that have seen flooding in the past that may see it again. Again, especially for the Redding area, not to the extent that you saw it on that Sunday with that convergence line. But there are going to be some areas where creeks and streams are going to start swelling up, maybe even overflowing. And this is on Thursday and kind of going beyond that as well. Looking at the forecast rainfall totals, again, just kind of take this with a grain of salt, but through Saturday morning, I think parts of the valley could pick up 1.5 inches to close to 3 inches of rainfall at most. And then we're seeing areas that have been seeing the heaviest amount of rainfall just east of Chico into Plumas County. There's been some flooding there, flooding issues there. Also, we've been seeing more rainfall down towards places like southern Humboldt County as well, so we'll have to watch that area as well. Now, taking a look at another forecast model through Saturday, you can see here, yeah, about 1.5 inches to close to 3 inches of rain for parts of the valley, and you can see that footprint where we're seeing some of the heavier rainfall here and heavier rainfall down into southern Humboldt County. So those are going to be the bigger areas of concern when it does come to some of that flooding. And the Climate Prediction Center is certainly picking up on this wetter pattern, giving us a better chance of seeing above normal rainfall. Now let's transition, talk about snow. I'm going to take you through Friday morning. Now keep in mind, we're seeing the rain as early as Wednesday afternoon into Thursday, and Friday morning, all looking at rain, right? But look how much snow we're seeing in the mountains. There's not much. You have to go up pretty high in elevation to see that snow. So unfortunately, the ski park will see rain Wednesday afternoon. The ski park will most likely see rain on Thursday and even the first half of the day on Friday. But by Friday afternoon, we're starting to see those snow levels begin to drop. And I'd say by Friday evening, Friday night, down to about 5,000 feet. By the weekend, maybe down to about 4,000 feet. So colder air will eventually start to move on in, but initially it's going to be fairly high with that warmer subtropical air moving in. All right, so there you can see the winds. Again, remember that fog that we are seeing in many areas for the Sacramento Valley. If we can kick those winds up around midday, that may help to scour out some of that fog. But if the winds stay fairly calm, that fog may stick around through a good portion, if not all day long, for areas that are seeing that dense fog this morning. But then there you can see Wednesday afternoon. Now we're not concerned about the fog because it'll be raining at this point. But when that cold front comes through that helps to lower the snow levels, that will also really increase those winds. We're talking 30, even 40 miles per hour. Once again, with the saturated ground, we've still got to watch for that potential for some downed trees and maybe some power outages as well. So it's kind of like, here we go again type of situation. But at this point, I'm not anticipating what we see with this series of storms to be quite as bad as what we saw last week. So it doesn't seem like the intensity is going to be quite as high with both the flooding and even the wind events that we do see. But of course, that's yet to be determined as we get closer to those time frames. Hey, by the way, the lake levels, as you know, they've been rising, they've been increasing, they're very healthy. I mean, we're all well over 100 to even 120% above average for this time of the year. All right, take a look at the wave heights. They're going to be fairly low here for today. We take you into your Wednesday. No big changes there either. So as a result, no small craft advisories. South winds at 5 knots. Waves from the west at 5 feet at about 14 seconds. All right, here's a look at your neighborhood forecast, sponsored in part by Dignity Health. We start off here with Trinity County. Temperatures generally in the mid-50s. You're dry today, dry for the first half of the day Wednesday, and then off and on rain starting Wednesday all the way through the weekend into next week. And really overall, that's going to be the case here for everyone. Everyone's eventually going to get caught up in this wet weather pattern, but tomorrow it starts to the south first, works its way northward, and then the north portions of Northern California see it for the second half of the day. For Siskiyou County, you've got temperatures in the low 50s for today, although a little cooler off towards the north and east. Your highs only reaching the upper 40s. For Modoc County, we've got low 50s in most cases, 52 degrees for Canby, 53 degrees in for Bidwell. We talked about the snow levels. They're starting off high, but eventually lowering as we go into really Friday and into the weekend in particular. We take a look at the eastern mountains, 40s there. We take a look at your valley neighborhood forecast to the south with temperatures upper 40s to mainly low 50s for your daytime highs. And there's a look at your 7-day forecast for Chico. Fog may have a hard time burning off or even scouring out with any winds, so fog through a good portion of the day, if not all day. Again, depends what those winds decide to do. And then that wet weather pattern kicks in Wednesday really as early as late morning to early afternoon for places like Chico. I'd say by early afternoon for places like Red Bluff to see that wet weather, and then eventually Redding seeing that rainfall as well. By, I'd say, early to mid-afternoon, that rain kicks in Wednesday, and then off and on rain here for Thursday through the weekend, and that could probably continue into Monday of next week. All right, that is your morning update. I'll be back again at noon with the latest forecast. Have yourselves a great morning.
When you see flashing lights, someone's life depends on us.
And while we're out helping crash victims, we need your help to keep us safe. Move over, slow down, it's the law, it protects everyone.
Our crews are out here every day, keeping the roads safe for you and your family.
We're often the last ones on scene, and we want to make it home safe too.
Protect those who protect you, slow down and move over.